Alright, let's talk about Volkov versus Jailton Almeida. Now, Dana White tried to spin this as doing right by Volkov after that robbery against Gain. But let's be real. Dropping a grappling wizard like Almeida on your head isn't exactly a handshake and apology. This feels more like a prove-it fight for both guys. For Almeida, the question is clear. Can he handle a tall, rangy heavyweight who actually knows how to sprawl and won't just roll over once they hit the mat? And for Volkov, it's all about whether he can finally stop being that guy, the almost contender, the big man who folds under pressure when a wrestler shoots for the hips. But here's what makes this interesting. Volkov's not the same dude he was 3 years ago. His takedown defense has leveled up. He's more patient, more composed, and he doesn't panic on the ground like he used to. If Almeida can't drag him down early, this becomes a long night. Plus, let's not forget, Volkov's got underrated power, and Alma. Now onto the one everyone saw coming. Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili 2 is official for UFC 316. And yeah, it was inevitable. Dana White teased it, the fans demanded it, and Merab? He's been screaming for this ever since he mauled Umar. It's finally happening, and the stakes are huge. This fight is all about legacy. If Merab wins again, that's back-to-back over the champ. That cements him as the true bantamweight king, and maybe even the greatest 135er we've seen. O'Malley's star power isn't enough to save him twice. But from the UFC side, let's be honest. They want O'Malley to win. He's the draw. The viral clips, the rainbow hair, the Twitch streams, it's all built to print money. If he loses again, especially decisively, that golden goose might not lay another egg. Still, there's something compelling here, because this is not some random rematch. That first fight? It was way closer than people remember. 2 swing rounds. A 5th round clearly for O'Malley. You give him. That said, did the UFC miss an opportunity? Because there's a lot of us that wanted to see something different. Like Merab versus Alexandre Pantoja. A cross-division pound-for-pound showdown that could have cooked. 2 of the most underrated grinders in the game. Styles that would have clashed beautifully. But instead, we're doubling down on the O'Malley business model. And then there's the missed chance at O'Malley versus Petr Yan 2. A rematch with real heat, real controversy. That said, we are getting a hit fighter too. If you fighted someone different in Vegas by a few months, then Petr is even better. If Petr Yan's original fight with UKC works for a pound-for-pound instance, Van Oga Popiel has decided to bribe him. But different fighter doesn't matter. Something to be discovered. There doesn't want to be previous fights. They already did. And there could be a dumb elim. Unfortunately, their missed chance of that is on them. And way more marketability than a rematch with Merab. Yan's got that Russian villain energy. O'Malley could have... Garry is back. And whether you love him or would rather watch paint dry than hear another one of his interviews, you've got to admit, this dude does not duck the smoke. Jeff Neal pulled out of his scheduled fight, and now Garry is stepping up on short notice to headline UFC Kansas City against Carlos Prates. Not just a 3-rounder, 5 rounds in the main event. That's no small thing. Especially when you look at Garry's last year. Michael Venom Page, Shavkat Rakhmonov, and now Carlos Prates. All killers, all risky fights, and he's taking them without blinking. Now, Garry might be a tough listen. Man talks like a villain in a budget Netflix series. But inside the cage, the guy's reliable. He's not elite at any single thing, but he knows how to win. Whether it's nearly choking out MVP or giving Shavkat fits on short notice, the man has composure. This is rare in a division full of showboats and inactive contenders. But make no mistake, Carlos Prates is a real prat. So how does this one actually play out? Carlos Prates is coming in with an advantage in power and finishing instinct. His striking is crisp and violent. He doesn't just win, he melts guys. But he hasn't really been tested across 5 rounds. He's used to 3-round wreckage. We don't know what happens when someone drags him into deep water. And that's where Garry becomes interesting. Because Garry's not going to go out there and throw bombs for a highlight reel. He's patient. He's a decision guy. He wears you down. He mixes in grappling, clinch work, and control time. Problem is, Garry gets hit. A lot. Go back and watch the Jordan Williams fight. Go back to the Darian Weeks fight. Even in the MVP match, he ate more than a few clean shots. Against someone like Carlos Prates, that might be all it takes. One mistimed slip, and he's waking up on the mat, wondering what city he's in. But here's the wild card. If Prates can't get him out early, this turns into Garry's kin. Next up, Juliana Peña versus Kayla Harrison. This one feels like it's flying under the radar, but trust me, there's real intrigue here. Kayla's finally making her UFC debut, and the UFC isn't exactly easing her in. They're tossing her right into a former champion Peña, a woman who's gone 5 hard rounds with Amanda Nunes and didn't back down once. But here's the thing, Peña's gritty, not pretty. She's not flashy, she's not explosive, but she's stubborn as hell and doesn't go away easy. She's that fighter who might not be better than you, but she makes you prove it over 25 minutes. Kayla, on the other hand, is a wrecking ball. Physically, she's a different species. Massive frame, Olympic judo credentials, thick neck, thicker delts. She looks like she eats kettlebells for breakfast. So what wins here? Experience or dominance? If Kayla gets Peña down early, we could see a smother fest. But if Peña survives that first storm and starts to make Kayla second-guess her takedowns, that's W. But let's be honest, this all still feels like we're waiting for the real blockbusters. We're all watching to see what happens with Topuria versus Makhachev, Aspinall versus Jones, maybe even Garry versus Pavlovich in Paris. Those are the fights that move the needle. The ones that flip divisions upside down and break social media. Until then, the UFC seems to be piecing things together. Some hits, some head scratches, but at least they're keeping the machine moving. And in this sport, sometimes momentum is all you've got. So here's the question. Who wins these newly announced fights? Can Garry survive the chaos and outgrind Carlos Prates? Does Sean O'Malley flip the script on Merab and reclaim the belt? Is Kayla Harrison about to bulldoze her way into UFC stardom? Drop your takes in the comments. And if you want more breakdowns of upcoming blockbusters like Ilya versus Makhachev or Aspinall versus Jones, hit that like button, subscribe, and stay locked in. I'll catch you in the next one.